Hello everyone and welcome back to Invincible Guarding the Globe, and today I will be doing a guide on the best skill upgrades for heroes in the game. So if you do enjoy the video today, then feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Feel free to check out any of my other videos on the channel, as I do have some other guides available on here as well. And yeah, thank you for all of your support in the previous videos. It's been amazing. Welcome to all the new subscribers. And yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So today I'll be looking at some heroes where upgrading their skills makes a big difference to their kit. I'll be focusing today on one hero per faction, but I obviously can cover other heroes going forward. So if you do want to see another video on this with some other heroes, then feel free to leave a comment or like on the video, and that lets me know you would like to see that. So what do I mean by this? I basically mean any heroes, for example my Anissa here. If we have a look at their skills, you can upgrade their skills anywhere between from level 1 all the way up to level 15. Now I'll be having a look at basically heroes that this makes the biggest difference on. So if you are looking to build up some heroes, or if these heroes are in your teams, then I can kind of this video should help you understand which abilities to maybe upgrade first, or which abilities make the biggest difference. So we're going to start off with the GDA faction, and I'm going to start off with Shapesmith. Now Shapesmith is a support for the GDA faction, and he is incredibly strong if the skills are built up, which is why I'm looking at him today. So if we have a look at his skills here, we can see he's got obviously his main 4 skills. His main ability, Brother in Arms. Shapesmith at level 1, he grows extra arms and grabs 2 enemies and with the lowest max HP, and 2 allies with the highest attack. He applies 150% of his base attack damage to each grabbed enemy, and increases each grabbed ally's attack by 5% and their life leech by 30% for 4 seconds. Now this has a cooldown of 8 seconds, and at level 1 it's pretty okay. It's an alright ability. But if we then have a look at it at level 10, which I've got it here, you can see that it is still only 2 enemies and 2 allies, and this is the same all the way up to level 15. He now applies 250% of his base attack damage to each grabbed enemy, and increases the allies' attack by 25% and their life leech by 75% for 6 seconds. So it's a good ability, and if you upgrade it to level 10, it does make quite a big difference. The damage isn't really that much, to be honest, and the life leech is a good amount, but nothing too crazy. The increase of the allies' attack by 25% is pretty strong. That is good. But this ability definitely is upgraded and improved with the 3rd ability. So I'll get into that in a second. Actually, I'll get into that straight away. Basically, after performing Brother in Arms, which is his main ability, if we have a look at it at level 1, he alters his appearance to replicate one of the enemies. He then changes back to his normal self. This applies a confusion on the enemies for 3 seconds. Whilst confused and thus attacking their own team, the enemies receive an extra 50% critical chance for 3 seconds. So what does this mean? This basically means that after performing his main ability, he will then confuse the enemies, nearby enemies, for 3 seconds, and then those nearby enemies then attack their own team, and they get a higher critical chance boost for this. So they'll be doing more damage, but it will then be onto their own team. So this basically upgrades the first main skill ability by a large amount, and really helps to the effectiveness of it, because obviously he grabs in 2 enemies, deals damage to them, grabs in 2 allies, gives them a boost and life leech, but then this on top of that then confuses nearby enemies as well, which is great. And obviously then an 18-second cooldown is also very good with that. But if we have a look at this at level 10, the confusion then is upgraded to 4 seconds, and the critical chance boost is 100%, and a reduction of 15% of their defense, again for 4 seconds. So it applies a extra second on the confusion, which does make a big difference. It also then increases the critical chance to 100%, so the enemies will basically be critting against each other with every hit, and they'll have a reduction in their defense. So again, very, very good. And if you can get this to level 15, then it does even increase the time further. The confusion would be 4.5 seconds, and the reduction in defense would be 4.5 seconds, and the reduction in defense would be 5 seconds. So it's not a big difference from level 10, which is why I've left mine at level 10 here. Yeah, it's from level 1 to 10, an extra second makes a big difference, especially as well with the critical chance and the reduction in defense. If we then have a look at his passive, it's pretty straightforward. At level 1, when fighting with a Not of This Earth ally, he boosts all team healing effects by 6% and defense by 5%, and at level 10 this is upgraded to 20% and 20%, so a big difference there from 6 and 5 to 20 and 20. At level 15 it goes up to 25%, so not the biggest difference there, but definitely a huge difference from level 1 to 10 there. Now it does require a Not of This Earth ally, and if we have a look at the tags, Not of This Earth, where is it? Not of This Earth, there we are. You'd basically need one of these heroes as an ally. So for example, a Universa, a Alan, a Space Racer, a Battle Beast, etc. Those would basically be what you'd be looking for as an ally to give that passive boost, which is very strong and makes a big difference from level 1 to 10. The main thing that makes Shapesmith great, however, is his fourth and final skill, and that's what I'm definitely wanting to look at today, because if we have a look at level 1, it seems okay, you know, it's like a little extra boost and keeps him alive for a little bit longer, but once you get to level 10 and 15, it can even make him pretty much unstoppable. So at level 1, his fourth ability, Pain and Gain, every 5 seconds, if Shapesmith health is below 30%, he absorbs 50% of the incoming damage for 4 seconds and heals his whole team, including himself, by a maximum of 11% of his HP. So what this means is that if his HP is below 30%, even if it then heals back up and then goes back to 30%, as long as it's had 5 seconds in between, he will then basically absorb incoming damage, in this case 50%, for 4 seconds, and then after the 4 seconds is up, he then heals his whole team and himself by, at level 1, a maximum of 11% of his HP. However, if we have a look at this at level 10, this is what really makes Shapesmith great. So again, it's every 5 seconds. If his health is below 30%, again, same. He absorbs now 60% of the incoming attack damage for 4 seconds. So same as before, just an extra 10%. And he heals his whole team by a maximum of 20% of his max HP, up from 11%. Now, it's not the craziest number change. However, in a battle, it does make a huge difference, and it heals up his team a large amount and himself. So basically, Shapesmith can kind of, during the battle, enemies will be damaging him. Once he gets to 30 HP, as long as he doesn't die within the 4 seconds, he then heals himself and the rest of his team by 20% of his max HP, and that can keep happening over the battle, and he's absorbing 60% of the damage once he's below 30%, so it makes him really hard to kill at that low health threshold. If we then have a look at level 15, again it's every 5 seconds, and again 30% HP or below, he now absorbs 65% of the incoming damage for 4 seconds and heals his team by 25% of his max HP. So if you can get this skill up to level 15, obviously if you're new it might be quite difficult, but if you do want to get a Shapesmith in your team, then having this skill leveled up will massively help. So yeah, this skill is very strong, especially at level 10 and 15. And if you have this skill up to maybe at least 10, and then maybe the first and third ability as well leveled up at least to maybe 10, then it makes Shapesmith incredibly strong compared to where he is with his skills at level 1. If you do want to increase his survivability even longer, because for example the fourth ability, he still isn't absorbing all of the incoming damage, it's 65 at 15%, 60 at 10 level 10, 60% at level 10. So if you do want to increase the survivability just to make sure he doesn't actually die when he gets to that low HP, threshold before the 4 seconds is up, and he can heal his team. If you want to make sure he doesn't want to die there, then I would recommend putting Canslock on Shapesmith, because Shapesmith with Canslock is an absolute demon. He is very difficult to kill and has served me greatly, and has served opposition teams when I faced them very, very well. So yeah, put Canslock on Shapesmith as well to give him that extra survivability, which basically means if he gets to 1 HP, he gets an immunity shield for 6 seconds, and his main skill charges by 50%, which then obviously his main skill being very strong is very, very good. So yeah, that is Shapesmith, and that is why if you do level up his skills, he becomes so good. If we then have a look at Omni-man here from Earth's Defenders, he again is very strong and makes a big difference with his skills from level 1 to 10 or to 15. So his main ability here, he creates a wave, breaking the floor, dealing 150% of his base damage, and applying a -5% defense to all hit enemies for 3 seconds, and a cooldown of 25 seconds at level 1. If we have a look at it at level 10, he deals basically more damage, 200% damage, and applying a -10 defense to all hit enemies for 5 seconds. Again, 25-second cooldown, so not the biggest difference in the world. However, if you have a look at level 11, he then applies a -13% defense to all hit enemies for 6 seconds. So a big difference between 10 and 11 there, which is why, as you can see, I've got mine at level 11. You can take it all the way up to level 15 if you want, which again increases the debuff and the time it is applied for. But even at level 10 or 11, this is quite a good boost. It's not anything too crazy though, but it is a nice amount of damage and a nice debuff on the enemy. However, the big one that I want to look at is his passive here. So at level 1, it's probably terrible. At level 1, it's when fighting against humans, the whole team gets a life leech of 1%. Now this isn't great by any means. Humans are very common in the game, so you most likely be getting this, but 1% life leech actually is not very good at all. If you level this up to level 10, it increases the life leech up to 10%, which is okay, but honestly doesn't make a big difference in games whatsoever. The big difference is from level 11 up to 15. If you can upgrade it, it makes a huge difference, because it increases the life leech up from level 10 to 15 by 12%. However, the critical chance is boosted for Omni-man when fighting Viltrumites, which again, very common. If you get it to level 15, it's a extra 50% critical chance boost. Now this is obviously fantastic because it's a huge boost to critical chance and means he can deal a lot more damage. However, this also then amplifies his third ability here, Unstoppable, where at level 1, after performing 4 critical hits, the next attack has a 100% critical chance. Which basically just means that after 4 critical hits, his next hit will also be a critical hit, dealing 150% critical damage, and increases his Omni-man's defense by 2%, and it can stack up to 10. Now, this is alright at level 1. It's pretty decent, but if you get this up to level 15 as well, it then decreases down to after performing 3 critical hits, which obviously the second passive then increases his chance to do. The next attack again is going to be a critical hit, this time dealing 300% damage, which is very good and a large amount. Increases his defense by 3.5% this time, which is very good as well. And the main thing here, and the big one, is that it charges his main ability cooldown by 20%, and that is his main ability that we looked at firstly here for him. So what that means is that basically after performing 3 critical hits, he will be doing a large amount of damage, and he will also then be charging his main skill by 20%, which means he can use his main skill way more often and can build it up a lot quicker. His fourth and final skill is pretty strong. He deals a large punch that deals a large amount of damage, and if they're below level 10, as we can see here, 20% of their HP, then they are instantly killed, or if they are above that, they are pushed back. He then increases his own damage, and if you upgrade this from level 1 to 10 even, decreases the cooldown by 10 seconds and increases the HP threshold. So that is good to level up, at least to level 10. Level 11 gives you a few extra boosts, so I would maybe say 11 if you can, but it's nothing too crazy or game breaking. The main part for Omni-man is if you can upgrade his passive and his third ability to level ideally 15. Obviously upgrade the other ones then as well. He becomes unstoppable and super strong with those abilities built up. As you can see, I've then got the battle hologram on him because he is able to use his main skill so much more often. This obviously hologram, when he uses his main skill, then reduces the cooldown of his allies on their main ability. So because he's using his main skill so often, he then allows his allies to use their main skills more often as well, which is obviously fantastic. So yeah, that's Omni-man, and those are his skills, and you can definitely see obviously the difference between level 1 and 10 on those. The next one I want to have a look at is Universa. Now her skills are pretty straightforward, and there's only really one that makes a crazy difference. Her main ability here is strong. At level 1, she thrusts to the ground, dealing 160% of her attack damage to all enemies on the field, which is great, reducing their energy defense by 35% for 7 seconds, and this has a cooldown of 25. Now if we have a look at this at level 10, it increases the damage up to 200%, again reducing the energy defense, this time by 50% for 10 seconds, so that's a long time and a great reduction, 50%. In addition, she creates an electric field around her with a lifespan of 10 seconds, so same as the energy defense reduction. That applies damage over time to equal to 200% of her attack for 6 seconds to the enemies inside, silencing them for 1 second. So if an enemy is close to Universa, they take damage and are silenced for 1 second, which is good, and it reduces cooldown by 5 seconds to level to 20 seconds. So that is also good, and main ability is strong, nothing too crazy, but is great nonetheless. If we then have a look at her passive, now this is interesting for 2 reasons. Firstly, what it is it increases her critical chance by 5% for each last line of defense ally defeated during the battle, and this stacks up to 10 times. Now if we have a look at last line of defense, it's mostly earth defenders, as you can see here, but also, for example, robot life pod is thrown in there as well. So basically, if you have an ally last line of defense and they die, then she increases her critical chance by 5% at level 1. However, if you get this up to level 10, it increases up to a 15% chance for each last line of defense ally defeated, and at level 11 you get an extra boost, so it's up to 16% increase in critical chance. However, in addition, she increases her own energy attack by 7% if there's any Not of This Earth heroes on this team. So this is a good skill to get to level 11 if you can. And obviously you do need last line of defense allies for this to trigger, and they need to die for that to happen, which isn't great. However, this is fantastic for GDA ops, specifically train and gain. So as you can see here with myself, I've got Universa, I've got Russ to boost her damage there with his passive, and then I've got 3 level 1 Kid Omni-mans, because if they die and they are last line of defense, then they boost her critical chance, which allows her basically, as you can see here, to insta-wipe the waves. Because she's doing critical hits, she is just, yeah, each wave is like a 1 hit basically, as you can see. And that's great because it allows you to get way more rewards in that specifically. And this is done by her 4th and final skill, Tripping the Light Fantastic. If you have a Universa, you definitely want to upgrade this, because at level 1, with each critical hit she applies to an enemy, it bounces from 1 enemy from the person you're targeting to 1 other enemy, dealing 55% of the initial damage, which is good and means she can hit 2 enemies at once. However, if you get this up to level 10 or even to level 15, at level 15 and level 10, it increases from bouncing to 1 enemy to 4 enemies, which then applies to the full team of 5. So obviously the first initial person and then 4 people after that, which is the rest of the team, every time she lands a critical hit. At level 10 it's an 80% of the initial damage, and level 15 is 85. Now that isn't 85 to all of the enemies, it's 85 to the first, and then to the second it's 85 of the 85, and so on. So it does reduce down to, you know, the fifth enemy, but it is still very, very strong as it hits all of the enemies. And if you can basically increase Universa's critical chance, especially with her passive, then it means she can hit all of the enemies on the enemy team as many times as possible and deal a huge amount of damage, and then it's especially good in that GDA op. So if you have Universa, I would definitely say this is the main skill to upgrade, at least to level 10, if not to 15 if you can, because it's just so powerful and really, really increases her potential. Her third ability is pretty decent. At level 10, once every 15 seconds, she charges up her energy received, charges up with energy, receiving a 20% critical hit chance boost. So again, critical chance boost for 7 seconds and 12% life leech. So this from level 1 goes to from 17 seconds to level 10 at 15 seconds, which is obviously 2 extra seconds off, which allows her to then again get another critical chance boost, which is great. If you upgrade it to level 13, it's a every 15 seconds, again 23% critical chance boost for 7 seconds, which is great. However, the reason I upgraded mine to 13 and not to 15 is it adds at level 13 a push effect to all the enemies around her, which is great with Anissa. So if you have got a team with Anissa and Universa, then upgrading this to level 13, at least you can obviously take it all the way to 15 if you want, really helps with that as well. And if you are looking for artifacts to use with Universa, ones that increase critical chance, especially obviously with that fourth skill being leveled up, is ideal. So as you can see, I've got the GDA cloaking device here exactly for that, because it increases her critical chance just with the stat boost, and the actual skill itself increases critical damage every 16 seconds for her when she becomes invisible. So again, very, very strong with that. So yeah, that's Universa, and levels 1 to 10 make a big difference with her as well. Finally, we're going to look at a criminal hero here. We're going to look at Komodo Dragon. Now, Komodo Dragon is interesting because he's Lizard League. The criminal faction isn't the greatest, but some of them are very strong, especially, for example, Doc Seismic, and Komodo Dragon is surprisingly strong, especially with all of his skills leveled up. Now, I haven't actually managed to do it myself here, but if you are looking for a criminal team or a Lizard League team, or even just have Komodo Dragon in your team, then upgrading his skills makes a massive, massive difference. So if we have a look at his main skill here, Fang Storm, at level 1, he bites the enemy he's battling 3 times, each bite dealing true damage equal to 10% of his defense. Each bite also applies a wound stack that deals a total of 100% of his base attack damage over 10 seconds, and this has a cooldown of 22 seconds. So a decent amount of damage, and a wound as well, which is nice. So yeah, just a decent amount of damage, but nothing too crazy. If we have a look at this at level 10, it goes from a 10% true damage of his defense to 20%, so it doubles, and granting 80% lifesteal. So this time he actually heals himself with his main ability. The cooldown is also reduced from 22 to 21, so you get an extra second there. Each bite also applies a wound stack that deals 190% of his base attack damage now over 10 seconds. So a big difference, especially in the damage and also the lifesteal. And even up to level 15, he applies even more damage, 25% damage and 130% lifesteal, with the wounds deal a total of 240% of his base attack, and again an extra second off. So if you can get his skills up to level 15, then it's a big difference. Even level 10, getting the lifesteal and the double true damage is a big difference there as well. If we then have a look at his passive, at level 1, he increases his defense by 10% for each Lizard League on his team. So for example, Iguana or King Lizard. And 10% is pretty good, especially if you have, for example, both of those allies. That's an extra 20% defense, which is great. But if you have a look at level 10, it increases to 15%, which is nice. Additionally, if there is an armed hero present, for example, King Lizard, he taunts 3 random enemies at the start of the wave for 6.5 seconds. Now, this is great because 3 enemies means that they'll all be attacking him instead of your team for 6.5 seconds at the start of the wave, and that is very good because it distracts them and means your team can attack them without taking damage themselves. And at level 15, it's up to 10 seconds and increases his defense by 18%. So level 10 compared to level 1 makes a big difference because of the taunt. Now obviously they will be attacking Komodo and he will be then taking the damage. However, it pairs extremely well with his third ability. At level 1, again, nothing too crazy. At the start of the battle, he bounces back 15% of damage he receives for 10 seconds. So obviously with those taunted enemies attacking him, he then bounces back the damage to them by 15% of the damage for 10 seconds, which is okay, but nothing too crazy. But at level 10, he then bounces back 25% damage he receives for 30 seconds. And 30 seconds is a huge amount of time. So even though the enemies are only taunted for 6 to 10 seconds, 30 seconds of reducing bouncing back a quarter of the damage to the enemies is great. Additionally, he takes 25% less damage from critical hits, so again a further damage reduction, which is fantastic. And if you can get this to level 15, which makes a huge difference, he then would bounce back to 30% of damage, which 5% is pretty decent, for 40 seconds. So again, you get an extra 10 seconds there. Additionally, he's immune to critical hits, which basically is like if an enemy does a critical hit, he doesn't take any damage from it, which is insane. Yeah, very, very good, and increases his survivability exponentially from level 1. So if you can get his third ability to level 15, then that makes him incredibly difficult to kill for the enemy team. Now, his last ability is pretty straightforward, and I don't think it's anything too crazy. He every 15 seconds slams the ground, increases his defense, again a defense increase, by 15% for 5 seconds. He then deals damage equal to 410% of his defense to all nearby ground level enemies, taunting them for 1 second. So again a taunt, again a defense increase, and the damage is okay, but it's mostly the defense increase and the taunt. But if we upgrade this to level 10, he reduces the cooldown's reduced by 2 seconds to 13 seconds. This time he'll increase his defense by 30% for 8 seconds. So again, a long time and a great buff. Deals damage this time 500%. It's not the greatest difference. However, taunting them for 4 seconds and reducing their ability charge by 14%. So 4 seconds again, taunt, again amazing. Again, his defense buff will outlast that as well, and reducing their main ability charge by 14% means that they can't use their main ability for until that 14% has been regained, which again is super strong. And if you look at this at level 15, it's even crazier. A 45% defense buff, almost 50% for 10 seconds. He then deals 525% damage, alright, taunting them for 10 seconds and reducing their ability charge by 20%, and this is every 11 seconds. So if you can get this ability, I was wrong earlier actually, this is incredibly strong. If you can get this ability to level 15 as well, it makes a huge difference. So if you are looking to have a really strong criminal hero or team, then Komodo Dragon with his levels up to 10 or especially 15 is a big difference compared to where he is with level 1 skills. So yeah, if you are looking for him in your team, then he will serve you very well, especially with Lizard League heroes, or at least with King Lizard, because then you get the armed hero and the Lizard League ally. In terms of what artifacts, I've currently got the medical headband on him, but other ones would work very well as well. If you are wanting to fully optimize him, then probably the oxygen helmet, which gives him a further defense reduction at the start of the wave, would be amazing. Bergamot Burger works great. The Bergamot trash bag as well is fantastic for him. Cans lock helps keeps him alive, so something like this would work very well with him. But yeah, that will leave it today. A bit of a longer video today. If you're still here, then I do appreciate you. And leave a like if you did enjoy. Leave a comment down below if you'd like to see any more of these. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, cheers and see you in the next one.